take a look around and find somebody to War Eagle. It's showtime.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
Well, hello there, Auburn, Alabama, and all points around the globe where War Eagle can indeed be heard and return with joy, particularly along that little stretch of West Sanford where they are diligently working on solutions to problems. I guarantee you. Yes, indeed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you, whenever and wherever you may be consuming this podcast. I hope this message finds you truly well and joyful, and that you are trusting in the timeless and universal concept of constructive adversity. Yes, indeed. Hello, consumers of Auburn Broadcast Transmissions, and welcome to Auburn Stuff, the variety show podcast where we discuss the philosophy of life in orange and blue and other stuff that you may or may not find entertaining and informative, but that I certainly do, for whatever that's worth. And as we look out, we gaze upon the download map. We start local and grow from there, and say warm greetings as well to our listeners all the way from Alexander City to Livingston. And in Bristol, Virginia, Rochester, Minnesota, the lovely little village of Black Mountain, North Carolina, over to Pikeville, Kentucky, and yes, indeed, even you, because we are gracious, Auburn family, our hosts from this past Saturday up in State College, PA. Thank you, as always, for joining the fun. It is Tuesday, September 21, and the time in the Central Time Zone is 2:48 p.m. That'll make it 3:48 p.m. here in the Eastern Time Zone. And the current weather at College of Magnolia is gross. It is 83, feels like 90, humid, rainy, cloudy, crappy. But fear not, family. Fear not. In less than 48 hours, fall is on the way. At least sort of temporarily. Heck yeah, man. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to have lows close to the 40s. Highs in the mid to upper 70s. And on game day for homecoming, looks like at kickoff, the temperature will be around 78. And by the time you walk out of Venerable Jordan-Hare Stadium, the temperature will be probably in the 60s. When I was there 3 weeks ago now, I have to tell you, I was a bit chilly standing up there, up in the upper reaches of the West upper deck, gazing down upon Pat Dye Field up there in the breeze. It was a bit chilly up there, but that is what football weather is, indeed. Speaking of football, we had a game this past Saturday that didn't go quite as we wanted. I guess the outcome and certain mechanisms regarding how we got to the outcome did not unfold as we had hoped. My pathway to this particular football game was fraught with potential digital landmines, as many of you know, I am a professional photographer, and one of my subspecialties is weddings. And yes, indeed, not everyone on earth cares about Auburn football, and so they rudely decide to book me for weddings on fall Saturdays. And it's not like I can say no. So you improvise, you adapt, you overcome. Of course, we all have various recording mechanisms. We all have digital platforms from which we can watch the game wherever we are. But I don't want to sit there and get emotionally involved in an Auburn football game whilst working, especially given what I do. So I have to go into full media blackout, which doesn't always work. I mean, my stupid phone, of course, you get the push notification. If I were to delete everything that sends me notifications of scores and updates and things like that, it would be a total pain in the ass, and I wouldn't be able to function on other days where I don't have to avoid information. And so you tuck the phone away, but I've learned that you can't even touch the thing, because sure enough, it's going to wake up and show you some screen preview, and your eyeball will be trained right directly to the spot where the score of the game is. And that's just aggravating. So I have learned to and then I have to make a choice. Because I'm going to be at this venue wrapping up photography coverage of the wedding reception and then breaking down all of my equipment and driving the 30 or so minutes home from this particular spot. So it is going to be late in the evening. So do I want to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning and, shall we say, meter my response to the game because I have neighbors? Or am I just going to wait, praying that I don't find out any kind of information, just basically getting out of the car? Like I said, the phone is tucked away. It does not come out until after I know the outcome of the game. So do I do that all the way and avoid all contact with all electronic devices all the way until I get up in the morning and then watch a football game in which I will be emotionally involved at 7 o'clock in the morning, again, pissing off the neighbors? So I decided ahead of time that we would go ahead and get home, and I wasn't going to wait. We were just going to get the football game on. So somehow, and I'm at a resort on Hilton Head Island, and there's bars and the pool and restaurants and everything all over the place. And of course, that means televisions. And then I got people around me. This wedding in particular, the bride and groom live in Wisconsin. And so half of their family was from Texas, and the other half was from up there in various parts scattered all around. They're Big Ten people, and then the Texas people are Texas people. And so I had to make sure that at no time I couldn't. Usually I'll wear like a little lapel pin or something. Maybe I'll even throw on some orange and blue somewhere while I'm shooting the wedding or working otherwise, whatever it is that I'm doing. But I just can't know. I can't have some kind soul come up to me and go, "Oh my gosh, did you just see that play? Go over there and look at the television." I'm like, no, can't do it. So I didn't let anybody know anything and just hoped that the subject of football would not come up. And I made it. Somehow made it all the way home. But then we have to get home, and I have to send my wife into the den because we have YouTube TV. And so if I'm recording something or whatever it is that YouTube knows that I like to watch, it's when you turn on the TV, it's probably going to be playing on the screen underneath the intro menu. And so I had to send my wife in. And the rule of this, and if you guys, gals, whoever, if you've ever been through this, and Lucy agrees with me, that it's not just you. It is everybody around you, because if any of those people know, they're going to give it away. Body language, they're going to let something slip. Mostly people can't control themselves. So she couldn't know. And I sent her in on the mission of turning on the television without her finding out. And if she did see the score of the game, which would have probably at that point been in the fourth quarter, Well, then she would have to go away from me. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, see how we get to this? But she did it, bless her heart. And we successfully began the game without any glitches, and we're able to watch it all the way through. And I was even... You got to be careful, too, because with this stuff, this technology fails sometimes. And if you're recording something that you're watching and you're 2 hours behind, but it's still on live, and then the recording ends and you hit the fast forward button, how many times has it jumped to the end on you? That's happened to me more than once. But anyway, so I wound my way to the watching of this football game without incident. I was up until about 2 a.m. and trying to control my rage at various points during the game, but mostly it wasn't. I mean, it was... I think if you'll be honest with yourselves, you will, with a few exceptions, note that it did unfold about the way we thought, and there wasn't anything to get too ridiculously emotional about, except for perhaps the Zacoby McClain targeting call, which we will get to. But first, I want to say, by the way, well done, Penn State, the Pennsylvania State University. Well done. I had an entire episode, pregame episode, laid out and ready to go, but circumstances of business precluded my sitting in this chair and recording it. So I just wanted to cover a little thing about the whiteout game. About this hysteria that was taking over central Pennsylvania, that this thing that they do is unparalleled in all the universe of sport. And it is not. That is hubristic. However, it is a really cool thing, which you should embrace and celebrate. In fact, the entire college football world, if you love college football, you should embrace and celebrate the Penn State whiteout and things like it, because it's really cool. It is why we love college football more than anything else in the world. And they did it well. They did their thing well. By all reports, I mean, on TV, it sounded crazy loud. It looked like everybody was engaged. By all reports of people who were there, it wasn't louder than other places in which we have played football, which was our point all along. It's like, look, Penn State, bring it. Bring your whiteout and show the world your awesome display. But it is not a thing we haven't seen before. If you've never been to a game in Gainesville or Baton Rouge or some of these other places, then you got no idea. And I got to give Clemson, they bring it as well. And that stadium's smaller than ours. That stadium's about 82,000, I think. And I stood on the game photographing. I was working for the SCPA, and I was shooting Clemson, North Carolina game a few years back. They were playing North Carolina, and I want to say it was the first game of the... It might have been the second game of the year, so it was not a big game. It was North Carolina, and this was, 5-6 years ago, something like that. Something in that realm. And so, the point spread on that game was probably 20. And they weren't... This wasn't a competitive thing, and I stood there at kickoff, at the opening kickoff, down on the field, and I couldn't carry on a conversation with someone standing directly in front of me. It was loud. So anyway, my point is just simply that there are incredibly, stupendously, ridiculously loud football stadiums all over this country. But regardless, well done. It was fun to watch on television if you could detach yourself from being an Auburn fan. It was fun to watch. Good for college football. And now everyone is talking, all the writers and all the commentators are talking about playing these big interconference matchups. Guess where? On campus. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. Where have I heard that somewhere before? Right. Here. This space. From my very own big fat mouth, my very own brain. Why in God's name are we playing these wonderful interconference matchups in neutral sites? Honestly. Seriously. I mean, what displays the pageantry and passion of college football more than splitting the tickets in a sanitized NFL stadium? Yee-haw. You play this game in this Auburn-Penn State game in Atlanta or Dallas or Charlotte or some dumbass place like that, and what do you got? You got half this and half that, and you got some orange here and some white over there, and it's sanitized. There's no, you got on the video boards, you've got splits of both teams' logos. But you don't have all of the things around the stadium and before and throughout and after the game that make college football great. Good God. Take the game back from these idiotic, vapid corporate assholes that want to sanitize it and turn it into the fucking NFL. Lord have mercy. I mean, Georgia and Clemson a few weeks back. Look, I fucking hate Georgia and I don't care about Clemson, but that game should have been played on campus. Home and home on campus. Though for those two teams should play each other every year, quite frankly, which I've also been screaming for a long time in this space. I mean, Georgia got to play somebody. Anyway, so yeah, now everybody wants to play these games on campus, and maybe, just maybe, with the right people saying the right things instead of little old me and people like me, that we will get more of that happening. That we will get Auburn, Washington, Auburn, Oregon, Auburn, Louisville, and Auburn, North Carolina that didn't happen. Those things on campus. Home and home on campus. God, it's so much better. Anyway, so the Penn State game was something else. The Auburn-Penn State game. And we went into this, it seemed like we lost our minds a little bit. We sort of drifted away from our grasp on reality. Because, well, shit, I mean, 2 months ago, we were talking about, I don't know, are these guys are going to be able, this new staff, are they going to be able to do anything? They're going to be able to recruit and coach in the SEC? We went all the way from that to, shit, are we going to win 4 games this year? To, there is no possible way that we're going to go to State College and lose to Penn State. No way. I don't know how you get there. God bless us, one and all, Auburn family. And the last time I recalled that there was that much confidence in the fan base heading into a tough road game was that Florida 2019 game. And I was going, whoa, 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 pump the brakes, yo. And I got the same feeling with this. It's like, dude, I know, we all love to hate the Big Ten. It's Ohio State only, right? You guys got to get over this conference bullshit. Who cares? Love Auburn. Be Auburn. Who cares about the conference? So divorce yourself from that. And if you think that this Penn State team was not a capable football team, then you're fooling yourself. This was always going to be a tough road game. You got to know the difference between emotional wishes and reasonable expectations. So going in, I was just kind of shaking my head at how the paradigm seemed to have shifted so gratuitously 180 degrees from what we were all off season and leading up to the Akron game. The Penn State game was always going to be a difficult uphill climb. And they almost pulled it off. There were glaring weaknesses, I suppose, on the defense, and some surprising strategies on offense. But on the whole, this was not something to get very, very depressed about and be surprised about. I'm just not understanding that. And this whole thing of, I keep hearing commentators talking about, well, the season's not over. Well, my God, who has to be told that? Dude, if that's your mindset, we lost a tough road game, the season's over, everybody might as well quit. All the fans pack it in and the players just go do something else. That seems to be the mentality. Or the perceived mentality. Shit, everybody's got to be talked off a cliff. We lost a game. I never got that. I never understood that whole mentality about people worrying about players, forget about the fans, but about players quitting. Or just, how are they going to get up for the season? We still got plenty of season left to play. Well, no shit. These guys, these players, these coaches, all the support staff, everyone involved works their asses off all year for these Saturdays, these 12 Saturdays a year. They lost a game? Dude, half of everyone in all competitions in the history of sports loses the game. It's part of the equation. And that goes back to the whole constructive adversity thing I was talking about. Because now you learn. Now you tweak and you craft and you teach and you educate and you develop and you do things a little bit differently. You wake up, you put your feet on the floor, and you try to be a little bit better than you were the day before. I cannot get my head around this mentality where everybody seems to feel the need to say the season's not over. They still have a lot to play for. What in the hell? It is very similar to during the coaching search. And every goddamn time we talk about a coaching search for Auburn, the Auburn football coach, the most difficult job in all of college sports. And the people who say, well, who would want to come here and play Nick Saban every year? We have the toughest schedule in the nation every year. Why would anyone want to come here and do that? What? First of all, anybody who would say that, you don't want them here. You want the guy that's going to look at that and say, hell yeah, that's where I want to be. That's where I want to test my mettle. It's the same concept. I'm not getting this. I was not raised that way, and I doubt many of you were. Bunch of chicken little motherfuckers running around because we lost a game, a tough road game, with a new coaching staff that who the hell knew if anybody was going to be able to find their own ass with both hands and GPS. And a bunch of players that, oh God, how are we going to go with any of these players? And they damn near, in spite of circumstances, pulled off that road win. So I don't know how you connect all of those dots and keep yourself sane. So, what went right and what went wrong? Well, it's real easy. Tank and Jarquez, very, very right. By the way, how about Oscar Chapman? Had himself a game. Been looking for that out of a punter for a long time. Very successful game. Bo was average. He was neither the reason for the loss, nor would he have been the reason for the win. He was average. He was okay. He was fine. He actually saved his running, his runs and his scrambles were timely. They were not panicked, and they prolonged a number of drives and kept the offense going. You had to have been comforted by some of the drives. Whereas, God, I hate to keep going down this road, but how many goddamn 3-and-outs would we have seen in the past? And the defense just would have gotten worn down. So, Bo was 21 of 37 with some drops, 185 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Although we all know there was that one would-be pick six, but it didn't happen. And watch a football game and show me where something like that, where the ball doesn't bounce funny. John Samuel Schenker, excellent. These are the goods. I thought the offensive line on the whole was good. I thought the receivers, I do not have an original thought on this. You've all heard this by now, and you've all said it. They were marginal at best. Kobe Hudson, in spite of his... Jesus. Look, dude, have you ever touched or felt or put on any of those wide receiver gloves that they're wearing these days? I have no idea how he dropped that ball. You almost have to try to drop a ball wearing those things. So anyway, in spite of that, which was potentially a 10 to 14 point turnaround, he had a good day catching the ball. Made that great back shoulder catch, and showed to me that when he's not being used for a ludicrous trick play, when he's actually being used as a wide receiver, that he is more than capable. Demetrius Robertson, 5 catches, 23 yards. Big drop. One big drop. Malcolm Johnson Jr., should we see him more? Javarius Johnson, should we see him more? I don't know why we didn't see more wheel routes, more running backs catching the ball. And, of course, why did we not see more running the ball? Tank had 23 carries, and Jarquez had 9. I think everybody wanted to see Tank run the ball a whole lot more. And I'm not sure that that's the plan, nor should it be, especially when you have someone as capable as Jarquez and Sean Shivers when he's healthy, that instead of, in this game, Tank had 23 for 102 and 2 touchdowns. Maybe if he has 28 and Jarquez, instead of 9 for 63, maybe Jarquez has 15. And so that's 11 more carries. Probably giving you about 50 to 60 more yards. More time, more first downs, more plays, more drives extended, and maybe more scores. Maybe a touchdown instead of a field goal. So I'm not going to spend too much. That's probably about all the time I'm going to spend breaking it down. Because, that's not what I do here. And it's Tuesday. You've had all day Sunday, all day Monday, and half the day today to listen to everybody else talking about this. And I've been listening to it as well because I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say about this and sort of compare what I thought. Now, the real bad about this game, really, the real bad about this game was right here. 28 for 32. Holy cow. Sean Clifford, a clear career average quarterback, has the game of his life. How many times have we heard that? 28 for 32. 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the tight ends getting lost were... That was the key to the game. That was the game. You want to talk about what the game was? The game was Kobe Hudson fumbling and 2 catches by tight ends. For 40 and 37 or something like that. And that was it. That was the difference. That was the ball game. It was the safety that the non-safety safety and the horrendous god-awful officiating to which both teams were subjected gratuitously. The worst for Penn State was likely was the worst for them losing a down, just giving up a down? I looked at my wife and I'm like, dude, it's 3rd down. When I saw the punt team come out, I went, oh, awesome. What did I miss? I'm like, wait a minute. It's 3rd down. So what was worse, that or their the intentional grounding? I think the guys on the broadcast said it, and I said it too. I don't think I've ever seen that before, an intentional grounding with the ball landing in the field of play. I mean, again, I hate to digress, but when you can stand up there and throw the ball in the 3rd row, or more to the point, take a snap from center and spike the ball directly into the ground, I mean, how is that not intentional grounding? But whatever. So what was the worst for Penn State when it came to officiating? Which one of those two? The worst for us was without a doubt losing the Galaxy's leading tackler for a specious, dubious targeting call on Zacoby McClain. Now look, it's a good rule implemented in really the only way possible, which is to make a default call at game speed, like a turnover run back continuation, where they don't make a call. They intentionally don't make a call to let it unfold so that you can come back knowing that you're going to come look at it again after the play is over, so you can determine, whether it was a fumble or an interception or whatever, and let the play continue. So you make the call of targeting. It's basically a default call at game speed. If it looks like it, if it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. And they do this with poorly defined and executed replay reversal standards. So you take this is egregious, and it really, really bothers me. And this is a tough situation because of why the rule is there. So in this case, you're asking an athlete moving at top speed to abort, and vacate his trained action in a nanosecond. Now, the consequences on the officials for getting the call right or wrong are non-existent. There aren't any that we know of. The consequence for the player is that he will lose 9% of a season for which he has sacrificed all of his personal resources. 9% is a big chunk. Go ahead and have somebody take away 9% of your income or 9% of your life expectancy. You essentially lose a game, of which there are 12, barring postseason. And the consequence for the Auburn football team was that they lost the nation's leading returning tackler at an utterly crucial part of the game. And the consequence, if Jacoby doesn't, do his job there, is that the ball carrier scores as he was fighting to do. Have you seen the picture where the ball carrier is laid out parallel to the ground with his hand on the ground, and he is clawing for the end zone as he should? And Jacoby comes in with his shoulder. And then I hear this bullshit from that asshole official dude they referred to during the broadcast. Well, he was very close to the ground. Targeting, they try to determine a factor in is how close to the ground is the player. Well, excuse me, but aren't they all fucking close to the ground for the whole game? They're standing on the ground. God almighty. They are twisting themselves into the most ridiculous sorts of pretzel logic to promote this rule. So the consequences are dire for everyone involved except the officials. And by the way, explain to me when an offensive player, like a running back, is going to be called for targeting when they lower their head to make contact with a defensive player. Why is this only a defensive thing? And what makes the implementation of this rule bullshit is the same bullshit you hear from law enforcement when they tell you that speed traps are for safety and absolutely not for collecting revenue from the middle class. The foundation for the act is there. Okay? It should be. There should be something protecting these players from having their lives permanently altered. So the foundation, kind of going back to my metaphor, my comparison, the foundation for the action is there. And just like the comparison, you can't have people driving 80 in a school zone or in residential areas. And TBI is absolutely nothing to fuck around with. Trust me. But taking action with no recourse for abuse and stupidity out of sheer laziness and virtue signaling is no solution to anything. So my hope, my wish is that the Rules Committee and the officials and all the groups involved in this, the NCAA, fuck them, they're worthless anyway, but everyone involved in the putting on of a football game is endeavoring to not only protect the players from injury, life-altering injury, but to also protect the players from losing a big chunk of their season on a bad call. And that was a bad call. Unless you're just going to tell me, look, close enough is close enough. But there has to be some recourse for those who get the call wrong, because the player can't get the game back. And that's really all I want to holler about that. So, again, to recap, we lost a hard-fought football game to a good team in their home stadium on their biggest game of the year at home. Their whiteout, their thing. And we had the ball twice at the end to at least have a chance to tie the game. And really the difference in this game was just less than a handful of events. 3 or 4 things go differently. The result is probably different. That doesn't help salve our wounds. But it should, as the coaching staff is stating, this should sting. Because you don't learn in the absence of pain. Let me repeat that. You don't learn in the absence of pain. Otherwise, you just keep rolling merrily along, blithely traipsing through life in a prosaic state. So embrace the pain and learn from it. And I'll put my reputation on the line as an analyst of life and philosophy. They are working to figure these things out, unlike in the past where they were just going to keep doing the same thing until it worked. They're going to figure this out, okay? They're going to adjust. They're going to make adjustments, and I promise you, I guarantee you, we will win in Baton Rouge in a week and a half. Mark it down. They're going to make adjustments in the receiver room. They're just gonna. They're going to make adjustments on scheme and play calling. I guarantee you. Because my read is that this head coach and his staff are not sociopaths. And I just don't want to talk about the stupid little fling into the end zone when we all know that the ball should have been in Tank or Jarquez or Bo's hands or even John Samuel Schenker. My God. I mean, but according to the coach, there were 5 options on that play, and maybe Bo took the worst of the 5. So maybe that's our Bo. Maybe he thought he could make it happen. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I can't talk about that little series of events anymore because it's at this point quite irrelevant. So we move on to Georgia State. And by the way, speaking of our Bo, what is the deal with when he got thrown to the ground early in the game and came up holding his shoulder? And then the rainbow ball seemed to come. But I haven't gone back and watched the game again yet, but didn't one of the rainbow balls come before that happened? It seems to me like because, all right, let me digress a little bit. 3 years ago, or whenever the hell it's been now, when the A-Day of Bo's freshman year, so 3 springs ago, I sat in that stadium on A-Day and watched Bo and Joey Gatewood go through their stuff for A-Day. And I know it's A-Day. For Christ's sake, I'm not an idiot. I know, but I watched Bo throw the ball, and he was way more accurate. Short, medium, and especially deep than Joey was. He was tight. He was accurate. He had a good-looking ball. So whatever in the fuck the last guy did to him over the last 2 years, I don't know, and I can't imagine, and I don't even want to think about it. But it looks to me, because you've never seen, not once have you ever seen him. I mean, the dude got ripped for overthrowing Anthony Schwartz. Okay? So this rainbow thing to me either indicated some kind of injury or some kind of coaching that said, look, Bo, you need to put a little more air under the ball so your receivers can run under it. And he just hasn't, either he can't execute that kind of throw or he hasn't refined it yet. And that's what it looked like to me. So I'm going to move on from that. Where was I? So, yes, anyway, we got Georgia State. It's homecoming. Why in the hell we're having homecoming in September? I have no idea. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. I guess we'll lick our wounds. The healing for any injured players like Owen Papo, who knows what the hell's wrong with him, and anybody else that got a little nicked up. And hopefully some of the guys that have been missing will be back. Or maybe they'll be saved for yet another week to get thoroughly healthy for LSU on the road. But I would presume that you're going to see an awful lot of TJ Finley this week against Georgia State. Because I don't know, man. I don't know if Bo hurt that shoulder or not. But we'll see. So this game is irrelevant. They're probably going to work on a lot more things. Probably going to try to refine the wide receiver core. Figure out who the fuck wants to play and who doesn't. Kind of like what he said about, if you're going to be intimidated by this environment, don't get on the plane. All right, well, if you're going to be a turd burglar during a game and you can't catch the ball, we're going to find somebody who can. So we'll see if that happens. My bet is that it will. Now, what else happened in the world of college football this weekend? By the way, the last time I went over the scoreboard, I had somehow missed, because honestly, y'all, I keep telling you this, I just don't. I love Auburn. I don't care about much of anything else. And plus I've been busy. I haven't watched a lot of non-Auburn football. Plus I was there the first week, and that takes a lot of TV watching out of it and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't see that Florida State had lost. When I was talking about the scoreboard last time, I did not see that Florida State had lost to Jacksonville State, and boy, wasn't that delicious. So it's been a weird year, and also of delicious note, and here's the thing that I do not understand. Rooting for the guy that used to coach here at his current job. Fuck that guy. I don't care if he ever wins another game. I will never root for him. Good Lord. That guy set us back years. Anyway, he lost, which was delicious. What else is going on? Scoreboard commentary. And, Alabama looked, I guess, vulnerable. I mean, the narrative seemed to be that they were going to beat Florida in Gainesville by 40 points. But I don't know, man. I mean, dude, figure it out. That place is really hard to go win. Talk about an insane environment. Anyway, so Florida, who's probably overrated too at 11, almost snuck one in there. Georgia had, I don't know anything about this game. They beat the shit out of a terrible South Carolina team at home. Oklahoma snuck one, barely beat a terrible Nebraska team at home. Oregon played Stony Brook. It's Stony Brook. Anyway, Iowa won. Clemson. By the way, I need to repeat this again because this is my home state. There is no Z in Clemson. It's someone's name. And they did not pronounce it Clemson. All y'all. So anyway, Clemson had a bizarre, I believe that I saw that they had like a 2.5 hour weather delay to start the game. And you know what that does. That still doesn't mean that the number 6 Clemson Tigers should only beat Georgia Tech by 6 points. But they did, while only scoring 14 with their crazy 5-star galactic Gumamalele, whatever his name is. I have no idea. Texas A&M, are they legit? 34-0 versus New Mexico. Cincinnati, are they legit? I don't know, man. We live in a world right now, y'all, where Cincinnati and friggin' Iowa State and Coastal Carolina are ranked, which makes no sense to me. Anyway, Cincinnati won. Ohio State had a mad game against Tulsa. Notre Dame, again, wildly galactically overrated. Barely beat a Florida State team that lost to Jacksonville State. Also then had kind of a turd against Purdue. And UCLA, who beat the dog snot out of LSU, lost to Fresno State at home. How about that? Figure it out. Gotta love college football. Virginia Tech lost to my good friend Matt's West Virginia Mountaineers. Coastal Carolina rolling on, beating Buffalo and Ole Miss. Oh, Ole Miss. When I have to pick a game to go to every year, I just generally try to pick one that's not going to be 1,000 degrees and that we're probably going to win, and it's going to be an SEC game, so it'll be exciting. It's a long trip for me, and it costs a lot of resources for me to get to campus and get to a game with my family these days, and so I want to see a win, but I want it to be a fun environment, so I want it to be an SEC game, and I don't want it to be 1,000 degrees. So this year, I picked the Ole Miss game, and it's looking terrifying, is it not? Arkansas, ranked number 20, beat up on Georgia Southern. And who cares about North Carolina? The U, also like Florida State and Tennessee, who will never be back, but the media desperately wants them to be relevant again, lost to Michigan State. So goodbye, the U. We hardly knew ye. And Michigan is ranked again. Michigan's 25, I guess, out of inertia. That's we got to put somebody here, right? So they beat Northern Illinois. How about Kentucky squeaking one out against Chattanooga? Isn't that interesting? Is there anything else interesting in the world of college football scoring? Pittsburgh lost to Western Michigan. What else? Minnesota. Remember when we wanted that dude Minnesota beat the shit out of us in that bowl game, and we wanted that coach and all that, and they seem to be a little off this year. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, Akron, former victim of the Auburn Tigers, beat up on Bryant. App State, just up the road from me in Boone, North Carolina, had a big win. Who else? SMU, Baylor, Rutgers. Are they good this year or something? And there you go. Florida State, who will never, ever, ever, ever be relevant again, loses to Wake Forest badly. Talk about quitting. No character. And in the Battle of the Brains, Duke beats Northwestern. It's got to be a fun game to go to, right? And Liberty Flames with Malik Willis, I presume. Is he still there? I think I heard something about Malik working his way into being... Yep, there he is. Malik had 9 rushes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was 21 of 28 for 242 and 4 touchdowns. Damn, son. How about that? And I think that might be the note on which we will end the scoreboard commentary. And let me take a look and see what else maybe we've got going on here. It's been 53 and a half minutes, and I ranted a lot and didn't talk really about a whole heck of a lot other than how stupidly implemented the targeting call is, how this game could have gone differently, and how weirdly we thought about this game. So I'll wrap it up right there. There's not really much else to talk about. We got Georgia State coming up and then LSU after that, and we'll have a nice analytical fun episode because I'm guaranteeing a win in Baton Rouge, and I've been doing it for months now. So we will, I don't see anybody else that fits into the other categories of anything else that we're going to talk about. So I don't know. Could we talk about adjusted schedule predictions? Last time I talked about a 1-loss season. Yikes. Because while LSU and maybe even A&M don't look scary at all anymore, and UAT looks less scary, Ole Miss certainly suddenly looks a whole hell of a lot more terrifying, and Arkansas looks pretty scary too on the road. Maybe I should have picked a Mississippi State game, but it's going to be cold. Anyway, let's get on out of here, shall we? And with that, I bid you all a very good day. Now get on out there and get after it. Do something to make the world a little less crappy. How about it? Auburn Stuff can be found at auburnstuff.podbean.com, on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and lots of other places in the podcast universe, also on YouTube. I encourage you to download and do your listening on the Podbean app. You can find everything in the world you want to listen to there, and you can follow the show, click the little bell, and get alerts when new episodes are up, and participate in live shows and other fun stuff that we have going on. If you want to drop me a line about any of this nonsense that I yapped about today, this was a hell of an episode, just a bunch of nonsense, me hollering about stuff. But that's what we do here. You can drop me an email at auburnstuff@yahoo.com, or you can use the Twitter thing if you're so inclined. I think it's at Stuff Auburn, I think, is my my persona over there. My name, my handle, whatever it is. And also on Instagram at Auburn Stuff there for various photographs and other fun things that I like to post from time to time. So remember, folks, wherever you go and whatever you do, actively support what you like. It's more critical now than ever as things get canceled and deplatformed and demonetized. Support it. Support the things you love. Do not be lazy about it. It's too easy for things to go away now. So subscribe, rate, review, give, share. Do all of those things for whatever it is that you love, whatever it is that you find entertaining, whatever it is that you find valuable. Support it in any way that you can. And with that, I will send you forth into the good night and remind you to be mindful, be fit, and be authentic. That's what the Auburn family does. Sometimes it's all you have, but most of the time, it'll be all you ever need. Until next time, War Eagle, everyone, and see you down the road.